Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Commander Tribe Elder. Today, I'm going to go over my Dalek deck, and it has a lot of the cards from the Universes Beyond Doctor Who release, from the Commander cards and the booster set, which was just all the cards in fancier versions. And anyhow, I tried to replace as much as I could from the Commander deck from the kind of more fancier versions. Um, so it is going to be the same colors as the Cyberman deck. It's blue, black, and red. And kind of like I said before, like this one kind of focuses more on generating tokens and because of the aspects of the commander, a lot of damage dealing, which is also why some of the areas that I usually go over are a little bit lower than others because like the removal is really low, but you could use a lot of the direct damage and stuff against your opponent. You could use it for removal of a creature or whatever. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. These are the tokens they give you. Really cool tokens of a Dalek right there. It's 3/3 menace, black artifact creature. I like them. I think they look really neat. And the commander is Davros, Davros, Dalek creator. He's 1 blue, black, and red. He is a legendary artifact creature. He is an alien scientist, not Dalek. He himself has menace. He's a 3/4. At the beginning of your end step, create a 3/3 black Dalek artifact creature token with menace. If an opponent lost 3 or more life this turn, then each opponent who lost 3 or more life this turn faces a villainous choice. You draw a card, or that player discards a card. Which is one thing that actually made this deck really hard to play test without other people. It was kind of hard deciding, well, what would somebody else do? Would they take the card hit, or would they let you take the draw? So, but yeah, other than that, so the main crux of this is to get in as much as we can with that 3 damage to as many players as we can, and make as many Daleks as we can. Also, there was a lot of cloning that was done, so there's a couple clone cards. Most of the time, you'll clone Davros. There might be some other cards that you might want to do it too, but I think Davros would be the main one that you would want to clone. And not only did I make the most of the regular cards in the deck like special, but I had to throw these in. I had them lying around. These are the basic lands. I have 7 mountains. I just love these lands. They are so cool. And I have 9 islands. Again, just the really cool art on these. And then I also have 6 swamps. So it's 22 basic lands. We do have 12 non-basic lands. Again, a lot of these are from the Doctor Who set, including the really weird one with the skeletons in the closet. But anyway, the first one is Creeping Tar Pit. It enters the battlefield tapped. It produces a blue or a black. You could pay 1, a black, and a blue. Creeping Tar Pit becomes a 3/2 blue and black elemental creature until the end of the turn. It can't be blocked this turn, it's still land. Pretty much just left this in here because it's blue and black source, and it makes a creature. Rogue's Passage. It's just a non-basic land. Taps for colorless. You can pay 4. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. This is mostly in here in case we want to use a creature to get in 3 damage, or if we want to get in a additional 3 damage to another player. If we've done it 1 with an instant, now we can do it with a creature, and then that's 2, and we have 2 people facing that villainous choice. So, can be handy. Next is Foreboding Ruins. It's enters the battlefield. You may reveal a swamp or a mountain card from your hand. If you don't, enters the battlefield tapped. It produces either a black or a red. Storm Carved Coast. It enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more other lands and produces either a blue or a red. Sunken Hollow, it's an island and swamp, so it produces blue or black. It enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. Dragon Skull Summit, it enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a swamp or a mountain. It produces either black or red. Still not sure about the second word on this one, honestly, but anyway, it's Fiery Islet. We'll just say it that way. Pay 1 life, tap it, add a black or a blue or a red. You can pay 1, tap it, sacrifice it, draw a card. Temple of Malice, of course I had to throw this in there. There's Daleks on it. It enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, scry 1, which you just take the top card, look at it, decide to put it on the top or the bottom of the library, and it produces a black or a red. Exotic Orchard, again, I like putting these in my 3+ color decks. Add 1 mana of any color a land an opponent controls can produce. Shipwreck Marsh, enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more other lands, and it produces either a blue or a black. Frostboil Snarl, as it enters the battlefield, you may reveal an island or a mountain from your hand. If you don't, it enters the battlefield tapped, and you added either a blue or a red for tapping it. And the Darkwater Catacombs, pay 1, tap it, add a blue and a black to your mana pool. So that does give us a total of 34 lands. This is a little unusual that I usually don't run that little of lands. I usually go 36, 37. I don't know. This one seems to work pretty well with 34, so who am I to argue? The next section is going to look pretty similar to the last one as well, the Cyberman deck. This is the ramp. There's only 8 pieces of ramp, but I find that they do really well, especially since a lot of them can be used more than one time in the turn. The first is the Sonic Screwdriver. It's 3 for an artifact. You could tap it, add a mana of any color. You can also pay 1, untap another target artifact. That can come in handy with some things. Pay 2, tap it, scry 1. Or you could pay 3, target creature can't be blocked this turn. Again, if I need to get another creature through to another player, then I can do that and have them face that villainous choice as well. The untap, there's a particular artifact that this could be used against or with later on in the deck that, in case you don't have the combo, then you can untap it and do a little bit more. Next is Joryo's Familiar. It's a 4 for a 2/2 flying artifact creature bird. Historic spells, which are artifacts, legendaries, and sagas, all cost 1 less to cast. Next is the Talisman of Indulgence. It's 2 for an artifact. You could tap it for a colorless. You could also tap it, have it deal 1 damage to you, and it'll produce either a black or a red. Ethereum Sculptor. It's 1 and a blue for a artifact creature that's a Valdelkin Artificer. It's a 1/2. Artifact spells you play cost 1 less to play. Commander Sphere. It's 3 for an artifact. Add 1 mana of any color to your commander's color identity. Soul Ring. It's 1 for an artifact. Tap it for 2 colorless. Arcane Signet. It's 2 for an artifact. Tap it to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. And last is Foundry Inspector. It's 3 for an artifact creature construct. He's a 3/2. Artifact spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Alright, and next is our little draw package. It's 9 cards. The first one is Think Twice. It's 1 and a blue for an instant. Draw a card, and it has flashback for 2 and a blue, which flashback you just cast it from your graveyard. Once it's done resolving, Actually, once you cast it, it takes effect or it doesn't, and then you exile it. Next is Ponder. It's a blue for a sorcery. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put them back in any order. You may shuffle, and then draw a card. Next is Pack of the Serpent. It's 1 black for a sorcery. Choose a creature type. Target creature or target player draws X cards and loses X life, where X is the number of creatures they control of the chosen type. This is low-key a tribal deck. We'll discover how, since there's only 5 Daleks in the entire game. Next is Mystic Forge. I love this one. It's 4 for an artifact. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast artifact spells and color spells from the top of your library. And you may pay, you can tap it, pay 1 life, exile the top card of your library. Again, you can't play lands because it says cast, not play. So there's that distinction. Next is Kindred Discovery. It's 3 blue for an enchantment. As Kindred Discovery enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Remarkably, you will be choosing Dalek, even though there's only 5 of them in the entire deck. Whenever a creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, draw a card. And that is kind of important, but not the main crux of it, is that when it enters the battlefield or attacks. So even if you're just attacking with 5 tokens, you're drawing 5 cards. So really helpful. Next is Witch's Mark. It's 1 and a red for a sorcery. You may discard a card. If you do, draw 2 cards. Create a Wicked Roll token attached to 1 target creature you control, and that is just it's an enchant creature, gets +1/+1, and when this aura is put into the graveyard, each opponent loses 1 life. I have really no reason for the token and the whole thing from Eldraine. I just wanted something else that wasn't the traditional pay to sacrifice or discard a card and draw 2 cards. So this is a little bit different. It gives a little bit of a boost and does a little bit of damage, so why not? Next is Vedalken Archmage. It's 2 blue for a creature Vedalken Wizard. It's a 0/2. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, draw a card. Next is 1 with the Machine. It's 3 and a blue for a sorcery. Draw cards equal to the highest converted mana cost among artifacts you control. Your commander is an artifact, so you will get 4 off of this. Plus, we do have a couple of artifacts on the higher casting cost side. Namely, one of the Daleks is 7. Another one is 5, and another one is 3. So, out of those, your average, you're going to be drawn 3 to 5 cards fairly reliably. This was a weird one, so I put it with draw because it draws most of the time. But it's the Flux. It's 2 red. It is a enchantment saga. Again, sagas will trigger when you bring them into play and after your draw step, not during your upkeep. So the first chapter is the Flux deals 4 damage to target creature and opponent controls. And then the next 1, 2, 3, 4 chapters are exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. So that's helpful because it does say play. So if it's a land, you can just play that out. And then the last chapter, chapter 6, is add 6 red mana to your mana pool. All right. Again, this is going to seem really small, but I have 5 removal cards. And I decided to clip these out as removal cards because they basically either counter or directly remove something from the battlefield as opposed to doing damage, which there's a ton of those in the deck. The first one is Counterspell, just good old-fashioned counterspell. 2 blue mana for an instant, counter target spell. We are running a lot of artifacts, so I went ahead and threw in Stoic Rebuttal. It's 1 and a blue. It has Metalcraft. It costs 1 less to cast if you control 3 or more artifacts. That's not generally an issue. And then, again, just counter target spell. Next is one of my favorite just pet cards. It's Chaos Warp. It's 2 and a red for an instant. The owner of target permanent shuffles it into their library, that reveals the top card of their library. If it's a permanent card, they put it into the battlefield. Most of the time, they'll just chip a land out. Sometimes you'll get something nasty, unfortunately, but it's one of those risk worth taking cards. Next it's called Reverse the Polarity. It's 1 blue for an instant. Choose one. Counter all other spells. Switch each creature's power and toughness until the end of the turn. And creatures can't be blocked this turn. So again, either a counterspell. You're probably not going to use the middle mode too much. But then the third one, where creatures can't be blocked this turn, that's huge in this deck. Just send over something that's through a higher power, and you're having all your opponents face that villainous choice. And I just absolutely had to throw this in there. Exterminate. they're the Daleks' key phrase that they use for a lot of the Doctor Who shows. Exterminate. It's 2 and a black for sorcery, and it has replicate. Which just you tap an untapped Dalek you control, and then when you cast the spell, copy it for each time you pay the replicate cost. You may choose new targets for the copies. Destroy target creature, its controller loses 3 life. So this is really cool because it does that 3 life, gets that villainous choice triggered, and it's also getting rid of creatures on your opponent's board. It's like the perfect 2-shot combo right there. All right. I did put in 3 board wipes. The first one, I believe this was in the Cyberman deck as well. Phyrexian Scriptures, it's 2 black for a Enchantment Saga. The first chapter is put a +1/+1 counter on top of, or put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature. That creature becomes an artifact in addition to its other types. Second chapter is destroy all non-artifact creatures. And the third chapter is exile all opponents' graveyards. Next is Evacuation. It's 3 blue for an instant. Return all creatures to their owner's hands. This can hurt us, but I like the speed of it. It's kind of a poor man's Cyclonic Rift. It only hits creatures, and it's a lot cheaper in mana cost. This is one of my favorite pet cards. It's Kindred Dominance. Me making a lot of tribal decks, and especially shoehorning this one into being a tribal deck. Had to throw it in there. It's cheaper than Inger's Wake, which sort of does the same thing. But if you could get all your creatures to be the same type, then it really is really useful. It's 5 black, Kindred Dominance, sorcery, choose a creature type, destroy all creatures that are not the chosen type. Okay. The next section, I call this Think 3, and that just means 3 damage to as many as you can, as quick as you can, as many times as you can. This is actually 16 cards deep. The first one is Thunderbolt. It's 1 and a blue for an instant. Choose one. Thunderbolt deals 3 damage to target player, or Thunderbolt deals 4 damage to target creature with flying. This one I just absolutely love. It's Flame Rift. It's 1 and a red. Flame Rift deals 4 damage to each player. I really don't care that it does an extra damage, but it's 2 and it does it to each opponent. Or no, it's each player. Excuse me. I don't care that I took the 4 damage. My thing is I'm getting a Dalek, and I'm possibly drawing 3 cards. Next is Lava Spike. It's a single red for a sorcery that's arcane. Lava Spike deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. So either use it for planeswalker hate or to get the Dalek for that turn. Smash to Smithereens. Yes, there is a reason I'm putting those here instead of off screen. Smash to Smithereens, 1 and a red for an instant. Destroy target artifact. Smash to Smithereens deals 3 damage to that artifact's controller. Again, removal and dealing 3 damage, giving me my artifact, triggering my commander's villainous choice. I love this card to death. Next is good old Lightning Bolt. It's a single red for an instant. Lightning Bolt deals 3 damage to any target. All right. The next card is Dragon's Approach. It's 2 and a red for a sorcery. Dragon's Approach does 3 damage to each opponent. You may exile Dragon's Approach and 4 cards named Dragon's Approach from your graveyard. If you do, search your library for a dragon creature card, put it into the battlefield, then shuffle. The deck can have any number of cards named Dragon's Approach. The next card is Dragon's Approach. It's 2 and a red for sorcery, and it does all the same stuff that the last card did. And guess what? The next card is Dragon's Approach. And so is the next one. And the next one. That's all the Dragon's Approaches I had. So, the next 5 cards are pretty much, I didn't have any more Dragon's Approaches, but I wanted to deal more damage, and I wanted to have more cards in my deck to deal that damage, and basically as soon as I get the Dragon's Approaches, which will probably be me going online because I can't find my LGS, I will replace these with Dragon's Approach, and there's kind of a little hidden reason why I want specifically Dragon's Approach in the deck. I mean, it does do 3 damage to each opponent, which is just beautiful, but hopefully it becomes obvious here later on. Anyway, the first card, we got 2 vehicles. I chose these because they are bigger in power and they have trample. The first one is the RMS Titanic. It's 3 and a red for a legendary artifact vehicle. It's a 7/1. It has flying and trample. So, unless we're going against a dragon deck, we're probably going to get through at least 3 damage with this, hopefully. When RMS Titanic deals combat damage to a player, sacrifice it and create that many treasure tokens. And it is crew 3. So, hopefully we could even like ramp a little bit off of this. Yes, it does have that kind of like lightning, ball lightning. The 6/1 trample. It has that clause on it when it does. Well, actually, I think that one's just at the end of the turn or when it attacks or something. But it's the same thing. You just get 1 attack with it and you're 1 and done. And it's not that expensive. It's only 4. So, but hopefully we could do a little bit of damage and get another Dalek. Next one is Honeymoon Hearse. It's 2 and a red for an artifact vehicle. It's a 5/5 with trample. Tap 2 untapped creatures you control. It becomes an artifact creature until the end of the turn. Does not have an actual crew cost, just the tap the 2. And again, we have ways of buffing our artifacts to make both these numbers higher. So, yeah, I like the trample on them. Would replace them with Dragon's Approach in a heartbeat. Next is Gruesome Fate. It's 2 and a black for a sorcery. Each opponent loses 1 life for each creature you control. Yeah, we could probably do some serious damage with this, but I'd rather another Dragon's Approach. Next is Chain Lightning. It's a single red for a sorcery. Chain Lightning deals 3 damage to any target. Then that player or permanent's controller may pay 2 red. If that player does, they may copy this spell and may choose a new target for that copy. Again, yeah, it's real cheap, but I'd rather have a Dragon's Approach. And last is Lightning Strike. It's 1 and a red. Deals 3 damage to any target. The big reason that I wanted to do this is because if I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 1 search for a dragon. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 2 searches for dragons that I have in here possible. And the last card that I have in this category is one of just my all-time favorite artifacts. It's Isochron Scepter, and that's one of the reasons I have like these 1 and 2 drops. Is so that I can attach them to this and then just have that guarantee once a turn, dealing 3 damage, getting my Dalek. This is the card that I said would work with the Sonic Screwdriver. That way I could do it twice. So if I lightning bolt this person and that person, get my 1 Dalek, have 2 people face that villainous choice. And, at least I'm kind of keeping up with the ability to do that. But anyway, Isochron Scepter, it's 2 for an artifact. It has imprint. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile an instant card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your hand. And then you pay 2, tap Isochron Scepter. You may copy the exiled card. If you do, you may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. So, The lightning bolts, the flame rifts, heck, even especially like the flame rift. I really don't care that I'm taking 4 8 12, uh, 18 damage a turn or a game. That doesn't bother me. I'm getting my either you discarding your cards or me drawing cards. So yeah, I would definitely copy any of those. All right, get these all out of here. And like I said, everything that I put off to the far right over here, I would replace those in a heartbeat with more Dragon's Approaches just to get the extra chance to go search for some dragons. Um, all right. The next section is all of the Daleks. That 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. It's 5, but yeah. Excuse me. The first one, I love the art on this. It's got even. Does that got him in there? Oh no, it doesn't. I thought it had Davros in there. It does not. I guess that wouldn't make sense. Anyway, it's the Cult of Scaro. Excuse me, said that too fast. It's 1 blue, black, and a red for a 4/4 legendary artifact creature Dalek. Whenever Cult of Sarko attacks, choose 1 at random. These are all the names of the different Daleks, which I thought was really weird that they named them this, but yeah, aliens have no concept of names, I guess. So they put a +1/+1 counter on each artifact creature you control. Awesome. Can draw 2 cards. That's pretty cool too. Sec, create a 3/3 black Dalek artifact creature token with menace. That's pretty cool too. That's what the deck does. And just each opponent loses 4 life. So each of these, or it's just, excuse me. So each of these aren't too bad, actually. Probably the worst one is, I don't know. I like them all, honestly. I wish I could choose, because then I'd be like, well, if I need my artifact creatures to be bigger, then I could just do that. But drawing 2 cards is always good. Making a Dalek, like I said, that's what the deck's doing anyway. And then 4 damage, or 4 life. That'll trigger the villainous choice really easily. So yeah, I love this card. I love the design of it. I just wish I could choose instead of it being at random. Next is the Dalek Squadron. It's 2 and a black for an artifact creature Dalek, and it has Myriad, which I believe is the when it attacks, it creates a copy for each player that it did not attack, and it attacks the player it's conjoined with, and then you exile them at the end of combat. And then Menace, which is just they have to be blocked by 2 or more creatures, and it's a 3/3. So yeah, an artifact creature Dalek. So this is essentially what our tokens are without the Myriad. Yeah, they're 3/3 menaces. Daleks are menaces. Next is the Dalek Drone. It's 3 black black for an artifact creature Dalek. It has Flying and Menace. Every Dalek is a menace, I swear. It's a 3/3, and it has Exterminate. When a Dalek Drone enters the battlefield, destroy target creature an opponent controls. That player loses 3 life, triggering our commander's villainous choice. Next is the Dalek Emperor. This is the 7-drop I was talking about. It's 5 black and red for a legendary artifact creature Dalek, and it's a 6/6. It has affinity for Daleks, which is really cool. It costs 1 less for each Dalek I control. Other Daleks I control have haste, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, each opponent faces a villainous choice. That player sacrifices a creature they control, or I create a 3/3 black Dalek artifact creature with a token with menace. So again, just everything's making menaces and Daleks and stuff, so really cool. The next 2 aren't creatures, but they do make Daleks, or at least can make Daleks. And the first is Genesis of the Dalek. It's 4 and 2 black for an enchantment saga. The first 3 chapters are all the same. create a 3/3 black Dalek artifact creature token with menace for each lore counter on Genesis of the Daleks. Which actually now I'm just reading that and realizing what it does. I just saw it was 3/3 and I threw it in. So the first time you would make 1, and then the next time you would make 2, giving you 3, and then the third time you make 3, giving you 6 total. So that's pretty cool. Target opponent faces a villainous choice. Destroy all Daleks. And each of your opponents loses life equal to the total power of Daleks that died this turn, which if you have all 6 out, that would be 18 damage. Or destroy all non-Dalek creatures, which I imagine most people just take the damage and sack your entire force. Which, yeah, it could work. Who knows? The good thing about that is target opponent. So if you got that guy in your play group that's like, I don't care if I lose as long as that doesn't win, you can not choose him or her. Next is Doomsday Confluence. It's double X and a black. It's a sorcery. Choose X. You may choose the same mode more than once. Each player sacrifices a non-artifact creature. Create a 3/3 black Dalek artifact creature token, of course with menace. And each opponent discards a card. So yeah, that's all the Daleks. So the next section is even more Daleks. And that's just 3 cards. I kind of alluded to this earlier. The Doctor Who came with some clones, so I threw them in here too. Again, the Anthem Soldier. It's 4 blue. Artifact creature alien soldier. It's a 0/0. You may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it isn't legendary. It's an artifact in addition to its other types, and it has Myriad. I would probably clone Davros. That way now I'm getting 2 Daleks every time I deal damage to somebody. Kind of the same thing with this one. It's Quantum Misalignment. It's 4 and a blue. For sorcery, create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except it isn't legendary, and it has Rebound. Again, I'd probably just choose Davros for the copy and just keep accumulating Daleks. I mean, it's really sad that there's not a card that I could like just stick on Davros and, just like every turn I could get more and more Daleks and maybe even more and more Davroses. Yeah, I threw it in here. Helm of the Host. It does exactly that. It's 4 for an artifact equipment. At the beginning of a comment on your turn, create a token that's a copy of a equipped creature, except the token isn't legendary. If the equipped creature is legendary, that token has haste. Equip cost is 5. So yeah, again, I just throw this on Davros. Every turn, make a new Davros, deal 3 damage, 2 Daleks, deal 3 damage, 3 Daleks, deal 3 damage, 4 Daleks. Yeah, it could just get out of hand. All right. So that was more Daleks. The next section is 4 cards deep. It's even more Daleks. So we'll go worst to best. How's that? Xenographed. I finally found a place for all these stupid cards. I've been wanting to make a ninja deck for, I don't know, like 3 years now. And put all these cards into it, make all my non-ninjas into ninjas. That way I trigger the ninja thing and do more ninja shenanigan things. That's kind of the concept here. It's like, yeah, I only have 5 or 6 Daleks. I want everybody to be a Dalek and take care of all the cards, or take advantage of all the cards that say, choose a creature type. So the first one is Xenograph. This is the worst one. It's 4 and a blue. As Xenograph enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Each creature you control is the chosen type in addition to its other types. Why is this one the worst one? For a few reasons. First of all, it's the most expensive one. It's 4 and a blue. Second reason, note, it says creatures you control. End of sentence, period. So, this means that spells you cast, cards not in play, cards in your hand, cards in your library, cards in your graveyard are not Daleks. So you don't get any of the other bonuses that the other 3 cards I'm going to show you do give. But it will take advantage of some of the +1/+1 stuff, and some of the other things involve when a Dalek attacks, Daleks all get, So it is in here for that reason. I guess Conspiracy costs just as much. It's 3 black. It's an enchantment. When it comes to play, choose a creature type, creatures you control, and creature cards in your graveyard, hand, and library are of the chosen type. So this does trigger all the if you cast a Dalek kind of stuff, which we'll see in the next section. There's a couple of cards that say when you cast a card of the chosen type. This was the cheapest. It's Arcane Adaptation. It's 2 and a blue. It's just battlefield. Choose a creature type. Creatures you control are the chosen type in addition to their own types or their other types. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. So that just kind of encompasses everything. So if you own it, it's a Dalek. So with the Dragon's Approach cards, you could do Dalek for one and Dragon for the other, or you could just have this. Masquerade Nexus. It's 4 for an artifact. Creatures you control are every creature type. The same is true for creature cards or creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. And this one's a whopper also. You can pay 3, tap it, create a 2/2 blue shapeshifter creature token with Changeling. Yes, it is not an artifact that you are creating. And no, artifact is not a creature type. So if anything says artifacts you control, which I try to weed those out. But if it does specify that an artifact gets this ability, then it won't apply to that. But anything that's Dalek will. And you, with this out, you can again use Dragon's Approach to go search for whatever creature you want to. All right, the next section is anthems. 8 anthems, or things that are sort of like anthems, or just boost things by +1/+1 in one way, shape, or form or another. The first one is Vanquisher's Banner. It's 5 for an artifact. As Vanquisher's Banner enters the battlefield, choose a creature type, Dalek, or if Masquerade Nexus is out, Dragon, whatever you want. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1 whenever you cast a creature spell of that chosen type. Masquerade Nexus, Arcane Adaptation, and the other one. You draw a card. Next is a card that it seems like every time I make a tribal deck, this is the second card I put in and the 4th card I remove. Because I usually just end up with a stack of cards and I'm like, great, what do I have to edit out of these 150 cards that I put into here? This is usually the 3rd or 4th card to leave. It's Door Destinies. It's 4 for an artifact. As Door Destinies enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, put a charge counter on Door of Destinies. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1 for each charge counter on Door of Destinies. So as you're casting your Daleks, you'll put more counters on. Again, the reason for all the Xenograph stuff. Well, actually not Xenograph, but the other 4. This one's a little bit different. It's Sigil of Valor. It's 2 for an artifact equipment. Whenever an equipped creature attacks alone, it gets +1/+1 until the end of the turn for each other creature you control. Its equip cost is only 1. Again, with things like the Sonic Screwdriver, Rogue's Passage, things that allow me to get a free attack in, this is gold. I'm not even sure what set that is. I don't know if that's the Brothers' War or what, but yeah, this was awesome. I had to throw it in there. Next is Icon of Ancestry. It's 3 for an artifact. As Icon of Ancestry enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. You can pay 3, tap, look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card of the chosen type from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Again, do not do this with Xenographed out, but use the other 3 because they will make your library creatures Daleks also. Steel Overseer. Note, this is one that the Shapeshifter tokens will not be able to take advantage of because this is artifact creatures you control. But in any case, most of the creatures in here are artifacts, so it's in there. Steel Overseer is 2. For a 1/1 artifact creature construct, you tap it, put a +1/+1 counter on each artifact creature you control. Most importantly, probably with this, is that our commander is an artifact creature, so he will take advantage of this. Make him a little bit more durable. Okay, maybe I didn't try to weed it out. I threw a bunch of artifact stuff in here. Chief of the Foundry, it's 3 for an artifact creature construct, 2/3. It's an artifact. Other artifact creatures you control get +1/+1. And Master of Ethereum, it's 2 and a blue for a star artifact creature for Dalek and Wizard. Master of Ethereum's power and toughness are each equal to the number of artifacts you control. Other artifact creatures you control get +1/+1. And again, note the tokens you're making are artifacts. The 3/3s with Menace, those are all artifacts. So he could get quite big on his own. Rogue's Passage him, deal 12 or whatever damage to an opponent on attack. Boom, you're good. And one of my again, I love these kind of tribal cards. I know that some people think that they're not worth all that, but anything I could do to get, my tribal creatures just a little bit higher, I'll do. It's Adaptive Automaton. It's 3 for an artifact creature construct. He's a 2/2. As it enters battlefield, choose any creature type. Adaptive Automaton is the chosen type in addition to its other types. And other creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. Note, if you do not have out any of the things that make your creatures all other creatures, or, the Xenograph, the Arcane Adaptation, if that is not out, this does not count as casting a Dalek, even though you choose Dalek when it enters the battlefield. Why? Because you chose it as it entered the battlefield, not as you cast it. So this will not trigger any whenever you cast a Dalek spell. So just a heads up on that, one of those goofy little rules. And the next section, because it's always good to have a little bit of protection. Just 3 cards. The Master, Gallifrey's End. It's 2 for 2 black and a red for a legendary creature, the Time Lord Rogue. He has the ability called Make Them Pay. Whenever a non-token artifact creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, choose an opponent with the most life among your opponents. That player faces a villainous choice. They lose 4 life, or you create a token of the copy of that card. I consider this protection because I think it would stave off people doing board wipes, because they're going to, if somebody plays a Blasphemous Act, they're just going to hit all their creatures, and then either somebody's taking a ton of damage, or you're getting your army back. So, and I love the art on it. Love the red background. And then the next 2, basically the same card. Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots, they both cost 2. They both equip for 1 or less. They both give your creature haste and either hexproof or shroud. Just to put a little bit of, actual protection on Davros. Try to keep him sustained and out a little bit better. So yeah, that's it for my deck. Yeah, again, I usually don't make 34 land decks, and this one actually works out pretty well. I may do it today. I know it's probably not the best for my algorithm, but I don't give a care. But I did say that I made a 3rd Doctor Who deck. And God, I just love the way it shines. So yeah, this will be another deck that I put out on the channel either today or maybe tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. In any case, yeah, that's it for me. I know I didn't beat Ixalan coming out because I guess they sell it weird now. Release date is not release date. It's a week earlier when pre-release happens, I guess. So I didn't even know. I was just shooting for for the actual release date of the 17th. I know that should be today. That's when I'm recording this anyway. But yeah, so I'll get that's my next thing, is the Cyber Controller deck. We'll see when I do it. It might be next week. We'll see. I'm still, if you couldn't tell, I'm all gravelly. Still trying to get over this crud that I have. But anyway, we'll talk with you later. Keep on shuffling.